Okay, so now that we have gone through the Git basics, it's time to talk about Stack and Cabal. So where shall we begin? Well, let me just drag this project in my Sublime, and yeah, maybe I'll just go and repeat how to create a project with Stack. So if you do not have a Git repository already created, then you can just type in stack new some name of your project and hit enter, and it will create, as you can see, a new folder with all the file structure inside. And if you already have existing folder and try to type in the existing folder name, it will say that the thing already exists, so you need to go into that directory and run stack new cookster and bear flag, so it will just generate the files within the current folder. Okay, so what is Stack? It's essentially a package manager and utility for writing Haskell. And as you can see, we have stack.yaml file. This is some basic Stack configuration. And to actually understand why we have it, we need to talk about Cabal first, I think. And Cabal is original package manager for Haskell, although some would not call it that way. And it's still here, it's still in the background. Stack uses Cabal essentially for all of these configuration files and running some commands. Well, nothing too important at this point. Anyway, so why was Stack made? Because when we were using Cabal, we would quite often have problems with dependencies. So what happened was that you have package 1 and package 2, and they both depend on the package 3, but different versions of that package 3. So package 1 would require a version 1.0 of the package 3, and the package 2 would require a version of 2.0 from package 3. So then you're basically stuck. You cannot download all the dependencies needed for your project, and you are in trouble. So that's when the Stack came in, and the idea is to have resolvers, which are essentially a set of packages that are known to function well together. So if you write, I want package 1 and package 2, and then both depend on package 3, this resolver contains versions of package 1 and package 2 that are compatible with one another and can use the appropriate version, the same version of the package 3 in the background. So we can see some more information about a resolver on the Stackage website, I think, stackage.org. So this is essentially an alternative to Hackage, although I prefer to use Hackage for browsing the code. Yeah, so here we can see latest LTS per GHC version, blah blah, and we are using 8.5 in here. You can change that. And 8.5 is using GHC 8.0.2. This number 8, it's only coincidental, so don't think that it has any relationship to each other. I mean, you can see that 720 has GHC 8.0.1, and yeah, that's just generally a quick overview. And you usually don't need to change anything within the Stack YAML unless you're maintaining some legacy code and you actually need a different version of GHC and a different set of packages. The only thing you might need to modify, I mean, you probably will run into some instances where you will have to, mess with other settings, but this extra depth is essentially the most important one here, and occasionally you will need to include a package that is not inside of the LTS, so it's not within this long-term support snapshot, because maybe it's not on stackage or for whatever reason. And usually you will get a message in console from stack. We might see that later, and you just copy and paste the new dependencies over here, so they will be like in some format like dash and name of the package dash version blah blah. Okay, so I think that's basically all we need to take a look at inside of here. So the next important file is a Cabal file, and in here you tell stack and Cabal all the important information about your project. So in case you've maybe worked with Visual Studio or something like that, you might be familiar with the concept of solution and projects, and you could have one solution that can have multiple projects that will result in multiple different programs when compiled. So this is kind of the same idea, although you can only have one library at the moment, if I'm correct. So what would be a library? As you can see, we have a source directory named source, and this maps over to the source folder, and as you can see we have exposed module lib, which is this file over here. So library is generally intended for a shared code. So for example, you're making some piece of software that will have a web application, but it will also have a desktop application, and you have some codes that will be shared between those two applications, and it would be a good idea to put it inside of our library, because it's not platform dependent, and so it can be included and shared between different executables. So you can have only one library. I'm hoping that will change in the future, but well, whatever. It is what it is. And then we have executables. This is actually a compiled file that will be created once we run stack build, and we can have multiple of those, so you can basically just copy and paste this and modify it, add a different name, and different source directory and a different main file. And this might be a web application, web server, and this one might be a desktop application. And you will have like build depends on, so essentially here we will include our library and all other packages that we require from the from internet. So I'll just undo this for now, like so. And finally we can define a test suite for our executable, which will be run when we require it or whatever, and basically here we just write the test for our application. Right, so one important thing to note is maybe, I don't know, we also have a field called other modules, where you can specify the names of internal modules that you do not wish to make available to other libraries. So we might have, like, I don't know, a machine learning module in our source, in our library, that we are using internally, but we are just exposing its functionality through some other module like a lib, and we don't want other projects to be able to include our machine library machine learning module, you know, on its own. So everything else is, you know, pretty much self-explanatory. This is just some metadata about author and project and blah blah. Yeah, let me just undo this, and this is basically, you know, all you need to know about Stack and Cabal. You'll see all the commands, important commands, and, you know, tips and tricks through this tutorial or series. So yeah, in the next video I will, you know, try to actually do something useful. So see you then.